for that delay, we'll get right back into our agenda. The next item is resignation from the planning board. We have our letter in front of us. Is there a motion to accept? Is there a second? So let's announce the name.
Motion to accept the resignation of John J. Bevilacqua from the town administrator.
Okay, second discussion?
Are we gonna send out, I mean, I think what we should do is send a letter to the ones that previously applied. Because this one's, he applied not too long ago, this was a recent appointment. And there's been several appointments, one or two after him. And I think there's still some letters out there that people actually applied, so I think maybe we should ask them specifically that there's an opening. Would they be willing to be, I can think of Mr. Restivo, no, Mr. Renzi, and there was, who else was there? There was a couple others that applied.
Yeah, there's three.
Right.
Sure, let's open.
Yeah, you know, I'd hate to see us snub our nose at them.
Okay. Did we vote on
We
that?
have not voted on it yet.
Okay, further discussion?
We're off the cuff.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Next item, disposal of used electronic equipment in town hall. So, can you give a list for us? Or,
Well, I didn't have make copies to hand out to you, but I can provide that for you. We do have, as computers die, or equipment ceases to function or not function appropriately, we do replace them. For example, if we have an old computer that completely dies, it goes upstairs, but maybe the corresponding keyboard only worked with that particular vintage computer, so we have to get. It's not that the keyboard doesn't work, but it doesn't work with any of the newer equipment, so everything goes upstairs to the little cemetery, little graveyard. So, Joe and I had spoken about it, and we just weren't anxious to just delegate where it was going, or if it was going to get wiped clean, any of the computers or anything without talking to the council. So what we do have up there is 4 desktop printers, some work, some don't. 2 black and white printers that either don't work well or at all. There are 6 old computers, some of which you would know better than I do, but I think some of them I know just plain are dead. There's 3 monitors, 1 small flat screen that doesn't work, and the other 2 are the old bulbous kind of monitors. There's at least a dozen keyboards, and some of those function okay, but some only work with the older computers. 1 tabletop scanner, and I have no idea what the status of that is. And then we have downstairs a large printer that came generously from the basement of the police department. It's a printer that they no longer use. We were trying to use it in the board of canvassers office, but it wasn't functioning properly. I think a couple of $100 may set it to rights, and maybe somebody else could use it. Or we could put it up on Craigslist or something, but in any case, I'd like to know what the pleasure of the council would be, what we could do with these things. If there's something that's functioning like a printer, perhaps we could use it for a fire station or another department within the town, or donate it somewhere else. But I'd like to know what your thoughts are.
Is there a market for any of these items that we could get somebody at?
I'm not sure if people are gonna buy a computer that's not working. But there are
I
several
thought
that,
you said some were working.
if the computer works, generally speaking, it's not upstairs. So it's not, XP, for example, is all the hardware on it and the software, it's all integrated. So we would have to completely strip it. And honestly, all of our good computers are not, anything worth anything's not up there.
So what is the suggestion?
All the computers that are upstairs are obsolete by approximately 8 years. Even some of the ones we have in service now need to be replaced and they're antiques. They are on XP and they basically have to be switched to Windows 7 to be able to run many of the programs that are required now to run the town hall, GIS and different things like that. Some things can be salvaged off of the old computers, in order to be used in the new computers, but not all things can be.
So what about the printers, the copy machine?
The copy machine, like Jane said, needs work. it needs a lot of work. There are a couple of printers up there that are functional, and we can keep them in case they're needed in other areas, but they're also obsolete too. You know, they're very old.
So what is the suggestion, Jane?
I would most likely strip.
She asked Jane.
Oh, Jane has, yes, I'm sorry.
I didn't know. It's
Well,
not
I would
so I'm
like to-
asking Jane versus.
I would like to agree that it's just plain dead, that I'd like to have permission to take it over to the electronics pod. However, as far as any old computers up there, Joe has the technology available to him to take a hard drive and wipe it clean, but maybe you would rather have it done independently. There may be some sensitive information that, yeah, that's a good. There might be something sensitive, you know, I don't want to take the initiative to do something and then have someone come back and accuse me of not properly wiping something clean, so.
I would guarantee you that the computers upstairs have information on it that should not be.
Right, well, that's what I'm thinking.
There's no maybe, they are.
Well, my first question is there a market? My second question is what's on some of these computers? Can we just
They would
take
have to
this?
cover, right. Like the hard
The
drive.
hard drive needs to be erased totally. And like I said, I can do that. That's
But if you,
what I used to do. But if you felt better with someone else doing it, that would be fine, but we'll just trust you. That's all.
I would suggest we find if there's any place that accepts donated old electronics, in the state that offers to wipe them off with condition to accepting them.
No, we don't want to do that.
No, we can't do that.
It has to be wiped before they.
It has to be waited before.
We can't give it to them and then they wipe it.
Mr. DePaul?
The board cancels computers have personal information on them.
We have social
Sensitive
security.
Social security numbers, drives,
That one,
birth.
that one needs to be returned to the state.
I have that in my office,
That one,
one
that
of those
computer specifically.
was supplied by the state.
Well, once that's happened, then it's.
So,
If we just sent them to resource recovery, would we still have to wipe them before?
You have to wipe it.
Yes.
Comparative.
Then I guess the first thing we need to do is wipe them.
But do you want Joe to utilize the knowledge and the software or whatever it is that he has to do this? Or do you want to find somebody outside the town hall?
what's the time investment that it would cost you to do it?
For me to do them all, it would probably cost me probably 2 days, but not sitting there watching it. I set them up and go away. It takes a certain amount of time for the computer to run through and erase everything. It's the Department of Defense software. It erases it to that standard and it can't be retrieved. I use that at college.
So you could do that right in
I can do it right in town hall.
some desk in town.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't cost us anything.
No. No. And the hard drives would be, some of them are SATA drives, they're updated versions of the old IDE drives. They can still be used by the town in the new computers. The various things, if a hard drive is bad, you have to get sold up. So my recommendation would be to take the spare parts that can be used on the new computers and save them, stockpile them, and the rest get rid of because it's all obsolete. Or donate it, same thing.
I think we have a couple of those, the small printer that was in work in Mr. Store. It's just like the desktop kind of printer that you would have in your house.
Yeah, that house.
You know, that's what they are. And I know the one that we took out of there does work.
It does.
It just wasn't appropriate for the amount of use we were going to get, maybe for the canvass's office. So that, whether we use it somewhere else in town hall or we donate it to.
Okay, so let's try to take it a step at a time. Computers need to be wiped. So that's the first step. Are we gonna outsource the wiping or ask Mr. Cardello to do it? Does anyone have a,
I would want to know what
Can do it in the house, let's do it.
I'm just curious as to the legalities of that. Do we have to cover ourselves
okay?
that versus?
No one's gonna tell you what to do with it. It's not really legal, it's a practical issue, security issue. I mean, are we talking about personnel records on anything? You don't put personnel records on, do you?
My
HIPAA
computer
information?
that I had, of course it is. Anybody who could break the password could get into our payroll system or anything like
Yes, we have to
But
assume it.
I've had my computer for 8 years, so we're talking about computers that are even older than that. So what's the white, I'm sure that
The
they're.
town has a duty to protect information,
Mhm.
personal information, credit information, HIPAA information, so you have a duty to do it. If you do it with your own personnel, who's not privy to it, if it's done under your supervision, okay,
In some ways, I actually feel more comfortable having it done in our office than giving it to somebody else, and assuming that's, I mean, look at people.
you're making
credit
assumptions
cards
even gets done.
At Target, you know, there are
Do they
ways
give
of
you
doing
a certificate saying, yeah, we did, or give you some piece of paper saying, yeah, we did it?
Probably if you're gonna spend a real lot of money, yeah.
I mean, I
They
just
have an
wondered how they
incinerator
get
more
it.
than likely, but you're gonna pay.
I'm not doubting your capabilities, I'm just wondering.
How many are we
how
talking
they're-
about?
We've
6.
got graveyards that are all, everything.
And
is-
hard drive, why is it
everything
so tough?
upstairs.
There's six computers upstairs.
Even printers have hard drives.
Do we have an idea how much it would cost to have an outside
Copies.
person look at?
No, I don't, I have to.
Why don't we put the computers on hold, get a price, we'll deal with the computers and how we're gonna wipe them at the next meeting.
Okay.
Can we deal with the copy machine, the monitors, the computer accessories, and the printers? We can do that this evening, there's no security issues with those, and we can at least get those cleared away.
I thought the printers had hard drives.
Copiers have hard drives.
Copies had hard drives.
Not printers, sorry, copiers.
Okay.
The only other thing is, when you're disposing of monitors, as Joe knows, that there could be capital grade 2 type things in there, so you can't just throw them out.
No, we
Once you-
we have a pod to take care of that,
Do you have something?
through resource recovery.
Okay.
Most of our equipment, when I tell you that by the time it goes upstairs, has no value to anybody. I truly mean it. It's broken down and then they just carry it upstairs. Why? I have no idea why they don't just bring it where it's supposed to go. It's just been the habit. So all this equipment with zero value, I say that he just disposes of it properly. We'll clear out the hard drives of the things that we need to.
Even something I've tried to give, and even donating, they don't even want it if it's more than a year old. The libraries don't want it, schools don't want it, nobody wants it, if it's just a short time.
All right, so let me try to formulate a motion. I'm gonna exclude the computers and copy machines until we get a price, anything with a hard drive, I'm excluded. I'll make a motion that the monitors, the computer accessories, and the printers, the ones that work, we offer to other town departments, and the ones that don't, and the ones that are not picked up by the other town departments are removed from the town hall and placed in the
Proper bid.
recycle electronic bin for disposal.
Second.
Discussion on that motion?
Let's do it.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I would like to make a motion to take the agenda out of order to do a prison presentation next, so that Mr. Gask can.
That's fine, that's fine. Maybe the people that are here from the club that would like to be heard, that's fine. No, there's nobody here from the club.
So the,
Save your stuff.
just to wrap it up, the monitors and the copy machine with the hard drive, let's get a price from Genesis or whoever, and we'll put it back on the agenda for next meeting, how we're gonna wipe them and deal with them. Okay, all right, so your motion to rearrange the agenda, put the business street light management, second by Mr. Rogers, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye, motion carries. Mr. Gens?
Thank you very much. Mr. President and members of council, would you want me to stay in front of the microphone or?
It's not turned on, you can hear.
Okay. I watched the other people sit at their chair, but I just wanted to do what the council would like me to do. I'm here representing PRISM, which is the Partnership for Rhode Island Streetlights Management. I am the president of PRISM in Washington County Regional Planning Council, and also the president of town council in Charles County, Rhode Island. About 3 years ago, Washington County Regional Planning Council did some research for our member towns and found that the biggest cost that we had were streetlights. So we began to do some research on what we could do to have municipalities purchase their streetlights.
we wrote a law that was passed in July of 2013 that allowed any municipality to purchase their streetlights. The reason why a municipality would want to purchase their streetlights is that there is a profit made by the electric distribution company of $7 million annually that goes from taxpayers to the distribution company. I'm pleased and excited to be here in front of your council tonight to present PRISM and hopefully bring you on as a member town. I can report that you have 20 streetlights. You're as important as every other city in town is. Providence has 17,000, but that's all right, because Charlestown's a small community as Foster is. Right now, if you purchase your streetlights through PRISM, we would assist you in this, and I'll go into how that program works. You would have a payback of 11.4 months, which means after that, you own your streetlights free and clear, and the money goes back to the taxpayers. Now, what can you do with that money? The money can be spent to upgrade to LED lights. And working with Mr. Cardello, your DPW director, he's mentioned that the town is interested in upgrading to LEDs, and you're doing it currently. By having a capital lease, you enable yourself to, at no cost to the taxpayer, keeping the same budget for your streetlights, enables you over 5 or 6 years to upgrade to LEDs, and then you own those. The advantage of an LED streetlight is it'll last 100,000 hours, which is over 20 years. A regular yellow streetlight is about 6 years. So you can see that there is a long-term benefit to LED lights. The light is clear, the light is more precise. If the chief has an incident on a corner, they're going to be able to see somebody in a blue hoodie as opposed to a dark hoodie. So it's identification. Your residents will feel. It's probably the most exciting thing that your residents will see because it makes a stark difference in the community, as you've seen from the lighting that Mr. Cardello has done for the town hall and the lights outside. The money is not much, but the benefits are large because of the fact, and I have some information here. I don't know if the clerk has passed it out, but let me review it. Over 20 years, in working just by maintenance, town saves $28,000. If you convert to LEDs over the same 20-year period, town saves $48,000. Now, these are estimates based on information that we received from the electric distribution company through the PUC. The program is yours. You tell PRISM what you want to do, much the same as the other communities are doing. What that means is that if you decide to move forward, we will write PRISM a check for $1 per streetlight, which is $20, approve our participation agreement, which says that we are partners in this, we will move forward together, and we will come back with a preliminary street lighting program for you that will have all your street lights listed. It'll show you the actual cost difference based on what National Grid information is, and a copy of your National Grid bills. So we will use that data, and we will come back. I will make a presentation to council. You will tell me whether you want to move forward or not. The expense that you've come through at that point is $20 for $1 streetlight. If you decide to move forward, then we'll come back with a preliminary street lighting report. It'll say that if you convert to LEDs, this is our recommendation for this corner and this corner and this corner. Maybe the intersections are brighter. Maybe the things on side streets are less bright. And that recommendation will be there. And then you tell us if you want to move forward. If you don't want to move forward, we can continue with the maintenance. The maintenance is where the town saves money. Right now, the average streetlight costs the community $150 per year. $95 of that is operation and maintenance. With PRISM, which is a not-for-profit organization of municipalities like Charlestown and Foster and Providence and other communities have signed on, we will manage your streetlight costs for about $25 a streetlight. So the savings is $70 times the number of streetlights, and you can do the math very simply. By taking that money and converting to LEDs, you get free LED upgrades as you want. If you just want us to continue to maintain the streetlights as they are, you save the maintenance costs. If you want us to upgrade, which we will come back and at no obligation to you, tell you what Our recommendation is we can move forward at the final time where you say, yes, I'm gonna buy the LED lights. We have the buying power right now, 38,000 streetlights in the state of Rhode Island. There's 100,000 streetlights. We have cities and towns and fire districts on board for about 38,000 streetlights. So you have the ability to use that buying power for your 20 streetlights. And that's the beauty of PRISM. We are the same as the League of Cities and Towns in their energy buying program. Our board is set up the same way. It's a not-for-profit board. Every community has a seat on the board. You tell us what you want to do and what you want to see from PRISM. You review all major contracts, and we report back to you through your content. So I'm here to answer any questions. I have a preliminary agreement that I can leave with your solicitor to review and answer any questions.
I think you already answered mine. I was gonna question the name of the bucket truck.
No. All you have to do is just call PRISM and everything.
We used to have close to 40 streetlights 3 or 4 years ago. We reduced that down to about 20. That was a big city.
And the beauty of PRISM is that you tell us what you want to do with your streetlight program. This is entirely your program. I'm just here as a partner with you to work with you, and you tell us what you want, and we will deliver on that for you.
What's the difference between state roads and town roads?
Well, we had a sidebar conversation on that, and the mayor of Johnstown is not paying for his streetlights, 800 streetlights on the state roads. What we do in the second stage, after you decide to move forward, is that we will show you where your lights are, and we will show you from your bills, we'll lay out what your costs are and what our recommendation is. And then at that point, you tell us if you want to buy the streetlights from the power distribution company, then you will know exactly where your lights are. My history has been that the town is paying for the streetlights within the town. On the ramps, for example, on 95, the state pays for those. There are about 8,000 state-owned streetlights, and they're mostly on the interstates and on major connectors like 6 and 10 and so forth. So you're paying, my experience is you're paying for the streetlights that are on state roads. However, if you own the streetlights, guess what you can do? You can do whatever you want with them. Just the same as Councilor Rogers says, you can remove them and PRISM will come to that. This is your program. All we're doing is delivering to you the ability to buy in a buying consortium that you are a part of to work with your streetlights. So I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to present the program. I will be your contact. If you need something, I'll be the person that will fix it. And I'm not going to fix the street. I'm not going to go to the park. You don't want that to happen. But I'm the contact for PRISM that will help you to make these decisions based on the information as we work on together.
You seem very energetic.
I am.
Over 20 streetlights. We're not war.
But it's the principle of the fact that the electric power distribution company has been taking $7 million a year from municipalities. And it gives me excitement because that money now goes back to the taxpayers. I happen to be a believer in the fact that we need to get every nickel and dime we can out of our tax base, and this is an opportunity to do that and to control those costs. And after 11.4 months, it's under your control. You have now bought.
That's probably what PUC just did, was a 26% increase, because they lost $7 million on the other end.
I didn't mention the fact that if you convert to LED lights, and your DPW director can comment on this, that 60% of your electric cost goes away. And the lights last 20 years versus the yellow halide lights that last for 6 years. So it's a win. This is a win-win-win deal. Exeter has 7 street lights and they're talking to us. So there's no place that is too small because of the fact that our taxpayers.
Don't jump so fast.
Any questions?
I have a major concern, and it's just a general overall. In the beginning of my career, I was involved with suing Boston Edison. So I'm very familiar with streetlights and their capacitors, et cetera. I see the benefits, I see how it dovetails with the statute, and it's great. But while we are putting ourselves in for the benefit, we are also taking a share of liability. If some of these large cities and towns have old streetlights that have PC capacitors, for example, they get dumped somewhere, even through a broker, we're in too for that. We're in cradle to grave with what's in those streetlights, in another community that we have no control over. So liability is my issue. When it says there are, quote, contractors that deal with that, and this is what happened with Boston Edison, they found their way through brokers into a river in Woonsocket. Everyone that had anything remotely to do with taking a streetlight down was in for a couple of million apiece. So while we are benefiting somewhat, we may also end up participating in liability if that happens. So my concern is gonna be who is maintaining, what kind of insurances are involved, and I have zero control over if Providence, Woonsocket, or Pawtucket, or somebody that has maybe older streetlights. I would be very concerned about that.
So,
I have no control over it.
May I answer that question? The value of PRISM is that we will work with you on understanding what your inventory is. And once you understand the inventory, each step of the way, you tell us if you want to move forward to the next step. The first step is to come back with a preliminary street lighting plan for $20. So I present that to the council. It has nothing to do with the inventory. The second phase is where we show you what the inventory is from National Grid. So they are, by statute, supposed to give us the inventory in 60 days. By statute, in the 2013 legislation that was passed, 60 days after the legislation was passed, we were to be in operation. It's now 2 years and we're still being, the distribution company is dragging their feet. They're making some money on this thing, which is the exact reason why I'm excited about this. At that point, you look at your inventory and we'll tell you if there's something that's of concern to you.
It's not my inventory that concerns us.
Say again?
It's not my inventory that necessarily concerns me. It's the other major cities and towns we will be involved with through this collaborative effort. We're gonna take on their inventory that I may or may not be able to look at or control.
So tell me exactly the fixture that you're concerned about, and I will get back to whoever.
Well, I mean, I'm no expert, but I do know that certain streetlights, even up to the mid-90s, which there could still be ones there, I'm sure there are, have PCB capacitors. That just happens to be what I dealt with.
So the question is PCB capacitors.
PCB capacitors which leaked oil in from a machine where they were being crushed because they weren't supposed to be there into a river. And everyone that ever remotely touched them or had anything to do with them was brought into federal district court. So if we join a collaborative with our few streetlights, are we taking on the liability of Pawtucket, Providence, Woonsocket, or whoever's involved in this collaborative when they trash their streetlights and we have no idea where they went?
so I guess
How
that's,
they,
the question. Are you a consultant that works for us, or are we now involved in a consortium that we're all for?
you're on the board, aren't you? Do we,
Am I? Yes.
well, I mean,
And you will have a seat on the
so
board.
you're involved
The,
with the control.
it's very rare that I walk into a city and town and everybody says, oh, let's go forward right now tonight. So I understand that there are always questions from, different questions. This is it's a question I haven't heard yet. I've been doing this actively for the last 6 weeks, and we've already got 38% of the state signed up. It's a good question.
It was a landmark lawsuit at
I-
the time, so I mean, it's,
And you're directly involved with it, and I understand the question. I'm not running around the question. I'll get an answer, and I mean, who should I work with? The DPW director, get that answer to him? On these PCB valves?
No,
You tell me
you
who.
contact me
I
also.
think we should contact her directly. Why put a middleman in place?
I think the two questions I have is, and I don't think we're ever gonna really know that for sure, is how do we know what all these other major city and towns have there that may be taken down and refurbished or replaced? And if we are an equal partner in this, for all purposes, why then don't we share equally in the liability if something. It's cradle to grave regulation circle.
So what's your second question?
It's really one question.
Okay.
The first part is, we will need to be privy to their information also, I guess, and then.
How old
I
are
have
us?
to-
How old are us?
Even if ours pass is my thing, even if, ours are probably will too, but even if ours pass, how will
Oh, I
I
understand
control?
that. I understand your question, but I'm thinking too, how old are us?
Well, the suit that I headed on federal district court was 1990, I'd say the decision came down 92, 93, and they were still taking them down, so the mid-90s, they were taking them down in New England with the PCB capacitors in them. That just happened to be. Transform, yeah.
So if you could give the, as you said, you have a contract, you could give that to the solicitor to review, and if you could give the financials to the treasurer to review.
The financials, I have a one-page financial because that's all the data we have from National Grid.
Is that this?
Yes, I have one copy for the treasurer.
Okay. And then we'll have them look it over and give us a recommendation, and if you could work with us solicitor, Mr. Barba, and
I can give you this electronically. If you have a card, then I
I
can.
don't have a card, I don't think, but I will give you more information. Yes, I do. The email address doesn't.
Thank you. Are there any questions that the council has before we move on to the next item?
I'd just like to thank you for coming in.
Mhm.
Seems like a really great idea.
Sorry.
No,
I have to ask.
if you're not asking it, the next person will ask it, so,
You'll be well prepared.
yes, ma'am.
very good. Okay, so we'll look at it, we'll get a recommendation, and we'll let you know, we'll call you back.
Make your own.
Very good.
Watch out,
And if
coming
you
back.
would send any correspondence via the town hall, I would appreciate it. So you have the town hall. Yeah, anything has to do
In the mail.
with this via the town hall.
You want that electronically? So that
If you'd like.
you copy this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need it
Yeah,
necessarily.
so-
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion this time to continue to get the agenda out of order to hear item number 8, letter H, concerning the Rolling Spears Cemetery.
Second. Discussion, Commissioner? Moving the agenda up, so Mr. Neal is next. All those in favor? Aye, okay. Motion carries unanimously.
Yes.
Mr. Neal, you're on.
I'm here for the night, that's fine. There was a bill presented for $1,600 for mowing of Spear Cemetery year 2013, 2014.
800 each year.
Pardon?
800 each year, and that's 1,600 each year.
800 each year. I just took over Spear Cemetery last year, running it as president, and it's taken me a while to figure this out. I contacted the Collins who've been doing the mowing for forever, I guess. They usually bill January of the year after. Last bill that the town paid was 2012. Going back, looking at some of the records, it's gone back as far as 2002. Previous to that, back in the mid-90s, actually Spears, I'll be honest, was paying for it themselves. I feel it's I guess I apologize for coming in late, but I called Joanne Carlton in the end of March. She indicated that they had issues, so they hadn't billed, but they would send it in. So I'm asking, basically for council to approve that money, since it's a service that's in effect already been done. I know there's some question, I talked that there are some areas in the cemetery that are perpetual care, that I guess, six that are in the cemetery. And then go from there. I had talked to the treasurer, basically the understanding Spears would, you know, take care of this year, and then, you know, pending some kind of resolution on the situation.
So, the way the cemetery fund works is that folks donate money to the town in the name of a certain individual, for perpetual care of a specific grave. There are six graves in Spear Cemetery.
Well, 6 plots.
Not-
There's a
Six lots. The town is not responsible for the whole cemetery.
Correct.
Right, okay. So, I don't know what has happened in the past, but beginning last year, we addressed the cemetery issue. We put all of the perpetual care cemeteries in the hands of one individual. So it's Ken Batty who's doing all the mowing for us. And that's who we, council asked to do the mowing in 2014.
Okay.
And he did it.
But he did it. And he
Yeah,
was-
I talked to him.
and he was paid for it.
Does he do the whole cemetery or just the 6 plots?
Kenny?
Kenny,
No, he only does the 6
6 plots, okay.
graves in your cemetery.
You will.
Spears cemetery.
In Spears, they basically, the columns, I believe, have been mowing everything because it's a lot easier just to go right through it.
Well, that's the same thing with Phillips Cemetery, there are several perpetual care lots.
There's 6 in there.
And
No.
Phillips,
Yeah, oh, and Phillips, I don't know.
Phillips, there's several, quite a few in there also, that Carlson also mows that cemetery, that they've never turned the billing for. And I've talked to Ben Phillips about this, and he says the town, he hasn't billed them, he's probably gonna start doing it. And the town owes him for those perpetual care plots too, but he hasn't turned the bill.
The records I got are a couple of, you know, beer boxes and bags and such, and going back through, I can show, or I can see, I think up until 95, that they were taking money out of West Bank once a year and probably paying. As I said, 2002, there was a bill sent to Charles Borders that then apparently got to the town because it was stamped twice with the town, you know, received by the town, paid by the town. And 2006, 2007, there's, you know, spotty year. I believe they were sent to Charles, and, you know, the town has paid it. If indeed you, the council changed how you were doing the perpetual care 2014, can, I then respectfully request the 2013 be handled, because that was under the assumption back then, as I said, there's somebody who's doing good care there. I'm not looking for.
Okay. Well, I just want it to be clear that we did change it to
Oh, yeah,
budget
I
item.
understand.
We have a specific person doing it.
Yep.
So that person is responsible for doing those 6 graves.
And that's fine, I'm still learning as I go.
If Spears or Phillips or any cemetery chooses to contract somebody on their own to mow, that's not the responsibility of the town.
Agree? Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Did we,
You know, it was just tonight that I found out that that's how the perpetual care spots, if you will, in the cemetery are cared for. And I can look at this going forward, so I'll talk to one or two other people on the board and see what we can do.
I got an uncle and aunt, a cousin and a husband in Spears Cemetery. That's a real old time cemetery.
Yeah.
And they have an association. Now, Charlie Borders sort of ran that thing for years, regardless of anybody wanting to or not. And the fact of the matter is somehow, how he conned the town into mowing that cemetery, I'll never know. But there's only 6 graves in there that need perpetual care, like John said. And I don't know how that happened, if she is getting $800 a year to mow the cemetery. I mean, there's a lot of other private cemeteries in this town, man.
No, I
We'll be in
understand.
trouble with this.
Maybe that's how that account got replenished.
Maybe it's how they count that deep energy. Denise, you had something?
I did, oh no, what, no wait, did we
Senior
notify, I'm very, Did we notify the cemeteries, like in 2014, we've had a history, from what I'm hearing, we've had a history with Spears Cemetery of paying them for mowing.
Yeah.
Did we notify Spears Cemetery that we now have Mr. Batty doing it? And are there other cemeteries that we're in the same boat, that we didn't let them notify them saying, we now
I would say-
have our own people doing it?
I would say we probably did not notify everyone individually, but I would suggest that if I had some guy mowing my grass last year and paid him, and then he showed up this year and just did it and submitted me a bill, I don't know that I'd be responsible for it. Just because I approved it last year, does that mean it goes on forever?
No.
Did we have an agreement with them prior to that, a gentleman's handshake or whatever, saying you do it, you submit, and have you had other bills in the past?
My question is this: has any council ever approved this $800? I don't know, I never heard about it.
Yes.
Well, you know what happened in
And
the
I got
past?
family there.
What happened in the past is that it
Not this $800, but $800 in the past. They would do it, submit it to the town clerk.
submitted to the
Town
town
clerk would
clerk,
sign the bill and give it to me.
and then it would just hit a warrant, and
Luckily, she didn't.
we,
College mentioned it, but
the councils were no wiser until all of the,
I started,
The issues
I
with
started
perpetual
screaming
care.
about perpetual care issues.
and when it all came out, then we dealt with it in 2014.
Kenny said,
Legal
he
basis.
told me today, he couldn't cut it.
No, back.
Kenny told me today, cutting the perpetual care graves, sites for 20 years. And he's been going in and he said, sometimes I go in there, and those graves are mowed. Said, well, I got them on my list, so I go over and get in. Said, sometimes I go in there and not mowed.
So it ain't double billed?
Huh?
So did we have anyone in 2013
Not
that we
getting
paid
double.
to mow these?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah, this is.
We have been paying Mr. Batty for several years.
No, this is we paid Ken Batty to mow the 6 graves probably every single year.
Okay.
Well, my question is this, are we paying him to mow all of them on the list?
We are,
Okay,
since last year,
Since last year.
all
so maybe we ought to notify certain cemeteries, like Phillips Cemetery, that, hey, we're paying somebody to mow these lots here. You don't
Yeah.
have
Well,
to.
that was my question, Gordon.
Uh,
Did we do
The
that?
word I got, Ben,
of them. Ben Phillips.
rather take care of his own cemetery.
Yeah, and I know that because I pay Ben Phillips Field, and I talk to Ben all the time. He just goes ahead and does it, it's actually Mr. Carlton that owns the entire cemetery. But what Ben had said, he was possibly going to turn a bill because basically,
Because we
Why
don't
don't-
want,
I don't think he's trying
he's not going
to,
now.
I think if he
The
wants
issue is with
Ken
the-
Batty to mow it, Ken Batty to mow it.
Exactly.
That's just.
Should we notify, I
Yeah,
want to
I
hear what
understand.
Renee wants
That
to
was
say.
not known until
Yeah.
tonight, how that works or whatever, and as I, I indicated, Kelly, that pending resolution.
Call me, I'm gonna give you a long history on the
So let's consider this conversation tonight, notification to Spears
Yeah,
Cemetery,
absolutely.
that in the future,
Starting this year.
starting this
Today,
evening,
right now, okay.
that
That's my hearing.
that the town has an individual that does perpetual care, and then anything you contract outside of that
Okay.
is on you, not on the cemetery.
Perfect.
That if the perpetual care graves are not mowed, then you contact the town, and we make sure that he gets it. So going forward, that settles it. Now, what does the council want to do about this?
Well, before we move on, I think we should contact all the other cemeteries and say, here
I don't
is.
disagree, I don't disagree.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so, some of them may not have anybody to contact, but certainly Phillips and Hopkins Mills, the ones that we know.
Right.
My worry would have been unjust enrichment. You can't accept it and just pretend it's not there and not pay something. But if you didn't have a reason to know, because you hadn't made a specific agreement that B was in there doing something that A already has contracted you for, because you would assume that A did it when you see it. they're doing 6, he's doing the rest, whatever. You had no way of knowing, is what I'm saying. Then I would think there's no claim against the town for a person who didn't have an agreement or didn't come up to you. The only claim would have been unjust enrichment, but you would have had no way of knowing if someone else is being paid already to do something, so you wouldn't have seen it. It's like, I pay someone to mow my lawn every month, and some other guy has been coming in saying, I can do it, or I'll do it, but I wouldn't notice that someone else was doing it, because I just assume it's being done every month by the guy that I hired. So does he have a legal claim? If that's the situation, probably not. But that's my only comment.
Did you say that you're gonna eat $800? That's what I heard?
Well, I will commit for the 215,
You're asking payment for the two $800?
I'm saying if the council decides that 2014, they had already changed it and whatever,
I don't think we ever actually changed it, and the point was, Ben, Mr. Batty's been doing it for over 20 years.
We've been doing perpetual care.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and, I don't know.
I just wanna know what my motion is. So they
You know, to me, it's
It has to be confirmed, so.
You know, I think in good faith, and maybe we should just split the difference. I would be okay with paying the $800 for 2013, draw a line in the sand and say, going forward, now you know the rules.
That worked, John?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we pay the $800 for the mowing of Spears Cemetery in 2013 to Spears Cemetery
From
Right.
from the
From the
contingency.
contingency.
Yeah.
Okay, and your second?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the end of the deal.
Yeah,
Discussion?
because the way I voted down on these issues before, specifically on the perpetual care plots, this doesn't even pertain to perpetual care plots, it's just the cemetery outside of that we're going to spend taxpayers on. I have to keep in mind with what I've said and voted in the past, which forces me to have to vote no on this.
Further discussion?
I mean, the concern I had, well, I'm sure this is accurate, or is mowing to places, I don't know if now, how do we differentiate between someone who walks in and says, yes, I mowed this cemetery 2 years ago.
Do we have
and based on
previous
the
bills from other
personal-
cemeteries?
Not that I know of, but
So
I
there's
I don't recall this one either from 2012, so.
It is 2 years old.
I think there may have been an individual who put in for it at one point in time, but it was several years ago.
Renee, if this motion passes, does this obligate us to pay any other bill that comes in?
There's no such thing as precedent.
What'd you say?
There's no such thing as a precedent with this.
I'm not saying personal.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
I reluctantly will vote aye, but, hold on.
John, they rule around here.
I asked him.
I'm not liking it either.
No, not being very.
I've got 2 noes to my left and I've got two yeses to my right, so
So it's 3-2.
I have passed.
Oh, that's-
I will vote yes if you spread the words all the other cemeteries. I will vote yes, we'll pay the $800, we draw a line in the sand, and going forward, the Spears Cemetery is on their own, we take care of our 6, that's enough.
And I think it's not up to Mr. Neal to notify the cemeteries, I think it's up to
I-
us to notify other cemeteries, and I think shame on us to not notify
Well, you know
them.
what, I was either, all those cemeteries, even Spears, and I have one, they have their own association.
Right, I know,
Well,
but if we
exactly.
have history of
They
this,
hire their own people to take care of it.
but if we have
Motion
history.
carries.
Thank you.
Sorry,
And
Jim.
no, and I said he couldn't, no, that's okay.
I told him before that it was, you know.
No, not that.
You didn't know what you were getting into.
Well, it is something we've been dealing with.
Well, I'd like to actually watch the
Shake.
flag like a back. Carry on.
Okay,
She's taking it company on board.
request for class liquor license, Sport and Media Club.
I make a motion that we honor the request for a Class F liquor license for the Thornton Beagle Club for May 21st, 2015.
We could deal with all four of these, all three of these in one motion if you want.
Well, you had it listed as separate agenda items, so I was doing it separately. I make a motion that we honor the request for a Class F liquor license for the Thornton Beagle Club on May 21st, 2015, June 18th, 2015, and July 15th, 2015.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. That looks like the end of our open agenda. Future agenda items, I added disposal of copiers and computers for 2 weeks from now. The legislation regarding Brook Apple Island that was forwarded by Mike Chippendale, we'll look at those at our next meeting. And there's like, it's, but I'll talk about that after, when we put that on the agenda.
Okay.
And the PACE proposal, the plan is gonna do a proposal on this clean energy program in the next, in our next meeting.
What's the questions that these guys were wanting to say?
She wanted to know about the preservation.
Okay, another thing was, I got an email from Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't see that on this.
No, it's not on the agenda. I'll tell everyone what it is for future agenda items. This is aspects to put on the agenda. It was put on previously, the council took no action. The thing that he's asking us to consider, the council actually voted on about a month ago, grandfathering that individual into a benefit to a long-term employment. So we voted on it a month ago, and I was not inclined to put it on again so soon.
Can I keep this one?
Unless someone from the council wishes it to be put on for discussion, I'd be happy to put it on. But we just voted on it.
Well, my question is, and other citizens like Ron asked for things to be put on the agenda. And they go on the agenda.
If you would like it, I'd have to put it on.
Well, I don't want
I
to,
didn't,
let me call him first and see.
I didn't because we just voted on it.
I did call him, and he hasn't called me back yet. I had some questions, he left his number in the email. But, I'll call and see if he still wants it on.
Okay, and if he does, and you support that, and you
It's
want
not
to-
that, I support the discussion.
Fine. If you support the discussion, the council entertaining it, let me know, I will put it on. And the only reason I did this was because we
It's
just.
not so much even the discussion, it's all of us picking and choosing what citizens can put something on and can't. In the past, we pretty much, somebody's asked, it's going on.
If we hadn't voted last month, I would have put it on.
This is the first time that you've refused the citizens to put something on.
But we've put him on before.
Yeah, he was on
It's
once
not
for
on
this
all the
issue.
time.
He was on once for this issue. And we did vote on this issue last month when we increased, when we amended the personnel policy. We specifically discussed that individual that he wants to change, so. The reason I didn't is because we had so recently voted on it and had a conversation, so.
The other caveat I have is you're gonna put maybe a position on an issue, but not a person, because he can't come in to
I'll talk.
discuss a particular body. Can't allow that.
So just let me know.
Yeah.
Let me know.
I'll wait for him to call me back, I didn't call him to get a message.
Okay, so, executive session, motion to go into executive session?